Today we're going to talk about the most famous lizard in the world who was so well known in his day he even met the president. But the best part is, if you ever find yourself in Eastland, Texas, you can visit him for yourself. The story of Old Rip begins back in 1897, and in those days people used to say a horned lizard could live 100 years without food or water, and a local kid named Will Woods wanted to know if that was true, and around that time the town was building a new courthouse. During the ceremony for the laying of the cornerstone, Will's father, who was Justice of the Peace, placed a Bible, a newspaper, and a few other mementos into the cornerstone. And if you don't know what a cornerstone is, it's basically the first stone that is laid on the building's foundation and usually has engravings, but can also serve as a time capsule. So as they were about to seal the time capsule, Mr. Woods drops a horned lizard that Will had found in the desert that morning into the stone. And the stone was sealed and the courthouse was built on top of it. A very long 31 years went by. Then in 1928 the townspeople decided they needed a new courthouse because the current structure was just too small for the growing city. Just as they were getting ready to tear down the old building, some people remembered the horned lizard sealed in there 3 decades before. Could it still be alive? On the day of the demolition, 3,000 people showed up to watch the opening of the horned lizard's tomb. And sure enough, there he was, but he was flat as a piece of cardboard and covered in dust. The county judge grabbed the lifeless creature by the leg and held him high in the air for everyone to see. And to the crowd's astonishment, the lizard's leg suddenly quivered, and then the lizard's body inflated as he took a big gulp of air. And it was the first breath of fresh air he took in 31 years. To put it into perspective just how crazy this really is, the average lifespan of a horned lizard is just 7 years, but somehow this one had managed to go into an intense hibernation. And people quickly named the lizard Old Rip after the legendary Rip Van Winkle, the man who slept for 20 years. Old Rip instantly became famous. People wanted to see this creature who had managed to live without food or water for 31 years. And Will Wood, the man who was originally credited with catching the lizard as a boy, was now a middle-aged man and decided to take Old Rip on tour. Fans mobbed him, professors scanned him, and President Coolidge even canceled some of his events to meet him. But not all the attention was positive. Skeptics in Alabama buried a horned lizard in a box and uncovered him 6 months later to find that the animal had definitely not survived. They called out Old Rip, claiming that their experiment proved he was a fraud. But unfortunately, his fame was short-lived, and he died just 11 months after being uncovered from the demolished courthouse. Old Rip was so important to Eastland by the time he died, Will had stuffed him and put him in this little casket lined with velvet and was proudly placed on display in the lobby of the new Eastland County Courthouse. And there he remained until 1962 when Governor John Connally stopped in Eastland on his re-election campaign tour. Unfortunately, at one rally, Governor Connally held up Old Rip in the air for everyone to see and then dropped him, snapping off one of his legs. Over the years, horned lizards have seen a steady decline and in present day are listed as a threatened species. Today, Old Rip, minus one leg, still lies in his velvet casket in the courthouse lobby in Eastland County. That's all for today, and if you have an explanation why these lizards are now threatened, I'd love to hear it down below. Maybe they're burying them all, who knows? But in all seriousness, if you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you as always. And if you enjoyed, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Alright guys, with that, I'll see you all next time.